Ever just stop and think, what does it actually mean to live a good life? It's probably one of the oldest questions there is, and today, we're going to look for an answer from one of the greatest minds in history. We're breaking down Aristotle's incredible and surprisingly practical guide to real fulfillment. So, let's start with the big one, right? A question we all bump into at some point. What is the ultimate point of it all? With all the work, all the effort we put in every single day, what are we actually trying to achieve? Now, for a lot of us, the logic starts out pretty simple. We work, right? We work to earn money. That's step one. But I think we all know the money itself isn't the real end goal. That money buys us something way more important, security. You know, a roof over our heads, a feeling of stability and safety. So we're moving up the ladder. But even that doesn't feel like the final stop, does it? And that usually leads us right here. The final word most of us land on is happiness. But this is where things get fuzzy, because happiness can mean a million different things, and it can disappear in a flash. Aristotle saw this problem more than 2,000 years ago and said, nope, we need a better definition. So, Aristotle gave this ultimate goal a name, eudaimonia. This is the first big idea we've got to get our heads around, because it's the foundation for everything else he's going to tell us. Now, it's so important to get this right. We're not talking about the temporary buzz you get from a great meal or going on vacation. Eudaimonia is way deeper. Think of it more like human flourishing. It's about living at your absolute best, reaching your full potential as a person. And this is what makes it the end of the line. You don't chase eudaimonia to get something else. It's the thing that everything else is for. It's the ultimate prize, the final goal. The buck stops here. And what's just fascinating is how this ancient Greek idea pops up in other places. In Indian philosophy, you have the concept of moksha, which is liberation, freedom from the cycle of life. It serves the exact same purpose. It's that ultimate aim that makes all the other actions in life make sense. Okay, so if eudaimonia is our destination, our North Star, how in the world do we get there? Well, Aristotle gives us a clear roadmap. He calls it the path of virtue. This is the how-to section of the guide. The Greek word here is arete, and it basically means excellence. But here's the game-changing part. Aristotle says virtue isn't something you're just born with, and it's not a boring list of rules to follow. No, it's a skill, like learning an instrument or a sport. It's something you have to build through practice. And he breaks it down into this really clear process. First, you just do the right thing. You act with courage, even if you're shaking in your boots. Then, you do it again and again. Over time, that action starts to become a habit. And eventually, that habit gets baked into who you are. You're not just acting brave anymore, you are a brave person. And again, this has such a cool parallel in Indian thought. There's this concept of samskara, which are these mental grooves, these imprints, that get formed in our minds from our habits and actions. Both of these ancient traditions figured out the same thing. We literally become what we repeatedly do. Okay, but be virtuous is still a bit vague, right? How do you know what the right action is in a really tricky situation? This is where Aristotle gets super practical with his most famous idea, the golden mean. The whole idea is that for any good quality, there are two ways to mess it up. You can have too little of it, or you can have way too much of it. Virtue, he says, is the art of finding that perfect balance, that sweet spot, right in the middle. You can just picture it, can't you? It's this beautiful, symmetrical idea. Virtue isn't about being extreme, it's the peak of balance, sitting right between two different ways of failing. Let's use a classic example to make this real. Courage. So, when you're facing something scary, having a deficiency, too little, is cowardice. But having an excess, just running in without thinking, that's rashness. The golden mean, the virtue, is courage. It's about seeing the situation clearly and responding in the right way. And you know, this idea of a balanced path is the absolute foundation of Buddhism. The Buddha's middle way is all about rejecting those two extremes, the extreme of chasing every pleasure and the extreme of punishing yourself with harsh discipline. It's amazing how both traditions saw that the good life is found in balance. And this whole framework isn't just for big, heroic things like courage. Aristotle applied this idea to basically every single part of being human, creating this whole guide to being an excellent person. He really did apply it to everything, from how we handle money, to how we deal with anger, even to how we act in social situations. Take money, for example. The virtue is liberality. That's the perfect sweet spot between being a cheapskate on one side and just being wasteful on the other. It's a total system for living well. And this is so key. This isn't something you do on your own. Aristotle was totally clear that we are social animals. He believed a flourishing life is impossible without real, deep connections with other people. He actually spent 2 whole books of his ethics just talking about friendship. That's how important it was to him.
So, we have our goal, eudaimonia, and we have our method, virtue. But then Aristotle takes it one level higher. He asks, what is the absolute highest form of flourishing a human can possibly achieve?
His answer? The life of the mind, the life of contemplation. Because the one thing that makes humans unique is our ability to reason. So he figured the highest expression of our nature is using that reason to understand the universe, to pursue wisdom, not for any practical reason, but just for the sheer joy of knowing.
And one last time, we see this profound echo in the East. In Vedanta philosophy, the ideal figure is the jnani, the sage. And how do they achieve fulfillment? Through the path of knowledge, the pure contemplation of reality. It's like 2 different civilizations climbing the same mountain from different sides and meeting at the very top.
In the end, Aristotle's guide isn't just some dusty old theory. It's a call to action. It's a powerful reminder that a good life isn't something you find. It's something you build. One choice, one action, one habit at a time. So that leaves us all with a pretty simple question. If virtue really is a skill, which one are you going to practice today?